Good morning. You can download the outline page, reference photo, etc. at watsonwatercolor.com free. This cup and cookie are painted with mostly orange and blue, plus some related colors of yellow, brown, and gray. We're going to start with the outline, and you can trace this, you don't have to draw it. Then we're going to add the shading with a gray mix of the blue and orange. Can you see where the shadows go? Getting the shading in first, before the color, is an easy way to successful painting. Once the shading is in place, you can add the color. It goes right on top of that shading. Then you can begin adding detail like the flowers. I'm putting in a loose background on mine with, you guessed it, orange and blue. Your background can be whatever color you like. For finishing touches, you can outline with pen and ink, or you can add some iridescent gold or steam coming up from the hot coffee. Let's get started. For the shading, you can mix a gray with your blue plus orange or blue plus brown. For this, I'm using a small size 6 round brush. The handle of the cup is a medium dark color because the light is coming from the back, so the handle is in the shade. To add shading to the body of the cup, I want it to have soft edges, so I'm wetting the area first with clean water. Then I paint the shading on, darkest on the left side, and it's lighter on the right side. Keep in mind that watercolor usually dries much lighter than it looks when it's wet. So you don't want your shading to be really dark, but you don't want wimpy shading either. In the top back of the cup, that little bit above the liquid, the shading is reversed. It's going to be darker on the right and lighter on the left. Now, the very top rim of the cup, leave that unpainted white if you can. And if it messes up, we can clean that up with some opaque white at the end. With the initial shading in, let's start adding some of the darker bits of the shading. Mix a darker gray, use the same colors, just use more paint and less water. Now I'm painting my darker on while the cup shading is still wet, because I want a soft edge for this shading at the top. My handle could be darker too. If you need to adjust the dark shading, wipe most of the water out of your brush, and you can use a damp brush to fuss with it just a little bit. A dark line of shading goes under the left side of the cookie. It's a shadow. And you can draw the lines on the cookie with shading too. The left side of the cookie is in shadow, so the dark lines can be darker than they would on the right side. Next, we're going to add that big shadow underneath the saucer. Now, because this is a big area, you need to mix more of your shadow color. Once again, I want soft edges on the side of this shadow. So for soft edges, I like to work wet on wet. And I wet the sides with clean water. Paint the entire area with your medium value shading mix. The shadow is a little bit darker just under the saucer, and you can mix a darker puddle with more color and paint that darker area on while the medium gray is still damp. While I have that darker mix, I darken up a few of my other shadows too. One way to judge your shadows is to compare them to your photo. Fold the photo in half and hold it against your painting. Do you have the right values? I think this one's okay for now. Finally, we're going to add some color. Today I'm using transparent pyrrole orange, and I'm adding a little bit of yellow to it. My cup wasn't quite dry and the paint is bleeding down where I don't want it. So I pick up that errant color with a paper towel. My stripe of color looks a little lopsided too. Sorry about that. I'll be sure and correct it on your outline page. The stripe of color on the saucer is in the sunlight. It's getting direct light on that saucer, so you want the saucer stripe to be much lighter. You can add yellow or water to make that orange lighter. The cookie is a similar color, but a little different. I add brown, that's burnt sienna, to my light mix and paint the cookie. The top of the cookie is a medium brown on the left and a little bit lighter on the right. The side of the cookie is darker than the top, and once again, the darkest on the left and a bit lighter on the right. You paint right over those lines. Now we can do the coffee or tea, or you could make it cocoa. So whatever you want it, mix your color. You can use your orange and add brown or black, whatever color you want, and just paint the liquid. Before we start the detail, let's do another check. I can tell the shadow under the saucer is not dark enough. Wimpy shadows will keep your paintings from looking their best. So be sure to touch up any values before you do your detail. Finally, we're ready for the details. I paint on some flower shapes using orange with a little bit of brown. I'm just kind of randomly putting them on. I want to repeat these same shapes on the saucer, but once again they'll be very light and watery. Now, there's some stems. I could add some of my gray to that to make the stem color. I'm a little afraid to do the stems with my brush. I'm thinking maybe the stems would be better done with a pencil first, but I'll put on a few very light and see what I think. I don't want the stems to be too dark because they'll just stand out too much. While that dries, I'm going to add my background color. Did you notice that I switched to a bigger wash brush? For smooth backgrounds, you can't beat a big wash brush. Wet the area first. I'm wetting the area. I put some yellow in my water so you can see what I'm doing. If you need to get close to the cup and you can't do it well with the big brush, you can also switch to a small brush for better control. You don't have to use only one brush. Now, for my background, I'm just using the leftover color. I'm using the leftover blue-gray for a couple big areas. Then I rinse out my brush and I pick up the leftover cookie color. My background is wet. It's not blending as much as I'd like. So while it's still damp, I'm carefully using my small brush, which is also just damp, and I'm doing a little bit of blending. You could also tilt your paper, just pick it up and tilt it one way and then the other, and let gravity help you do the blending. Your background could be any color you want, or you could leave it without a background. It's all up to you. But whatever you do, dry it well, because it's time for the finishing touches. I want the middle of my flowers darker, and maybe I'll outline a few petals, because my blobs don't really look much like flowers. I mix a darker color. I'm not sure where to put it. So I just use a pencil to draw in the center of the flowers and some stems, so I have a good idea of where to go. I don't want to overdo it. I just want to suggest some detail. And the same thing on the saucer. Once again, it will be lighter. You can also use an ink pen to do detail, or to do some very precise lines around the edges of the cup and the saucer. It's a lot easier to use an ink pen for that than it is a brush. We're almost done. If you need to clean up, like the top rim of your cup or your handle or your saucer, you can use opaque white. This is Bleed-Proof White by Dr. Martens. I'm also adding a highlight to the saucer that I see in the photo. And I'm going to use this opaque white very thick to add steam coming up from my hot beverage. I really like adding steam because it adds movement to a static still life, and that's a very pleasing effect. I scrub the white on with the side of my brush so it doesn't look solid. It has a translucent look. Last, one fun thing you can do with teacups, if you want a fancier cup, you can use some of the shiny gold paint to add gold to the handle, to the rim of the cup and saucer, or anywhere you want. I think I'll stick some in the middle of the flowers. What do you think? Do you like the handle better with gray or gold? Let me know in the comments. And give me a like if you like nice paintings with simple subjects. Your likes really help my channel, and I appreciate every one. Teacups are fun to paint. Steam is fun to add. I hope all your paintings turn out better than you ever expected. Check out Watson Watercolor if you need more painting ideas or you want tips to improve your watercolors. Happy painting!